So the example you give to, well, not the example, but the circumstance with you with the military, I listened to some of your other stuff. I listened to you on a podcast, and I think I heard you say, let me make sure I get this quote right. And I think you're somewhat tongue in cheek when you said it, but it's probably true that most people that enlist in the military either are poor or come from a broken family.
I'm
Uh,
not tongue in cheek on that.
no,
That's
right?
fact.
So I
Yeah.
believe that.
And
There's
I
an
came from both.
interesting, yeah, yeah. And there's an interesting, like I say we get philosophical on the show sometimes because I like to kind of zoom out and extrapolate. And I think it's exposing like a question about life. So take that, right? A lot of people that do join the
Mhm.
military, if not most, are in that category. And kind of the story you're telling, you fell into that and you're saying, like, I kind of wish I knew better because maybe I wouldn't have done that. I would have went to college. There's like a very macro view of it that's like, well, we need people in the military. We need
Yeah.
warriors out there who are willing to enlist and fight for our freedom and take care of the bad guys that we know are out there and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
if the approach that you're taking to life, if we were able to scale that, maybe people are so much better off. Maybe there's no more broken homes. Now we start getting to this like idealistic world. If we could ever get there and actually teach people the skills you're trying to teach your daughter, do we become worse off as a society, as a world, as a country, whatever it is, because, and in this case, it's, we don't have enough people in the military, or do we become softer, whatever that means, or do we become, are there like unintended consequences of us trying to kind of like piece this together so that we're not being helicopter parents, but we're trying to give our kids the best lives, but maybe it has a negative consequence on society as a result?
Yeah, probably. I would like to think that it doesn't, but the realist part of me is like, yeah, heck yeah.
Are we
I mean,
okay with like, and I asked this Jay, like,
we already
do
see
we do it?
soft. I mean, I first enlisted in 1993. And so I've seen for like 30 years almost a cycle of 18 to 22 year olds, right? So every 4 years we're cycling through a new group of people. And yeah, think about that for a second. We literally have set ourselves up where almost a quarter of the workforce turns over every single year. And so what I want to say with that is we are a softer generation now.
Yeah.
It is not this is not some like uh talking head saying, "Hey, we're going to give a," I'm telling you from what
Mhm.
I've experienced, it is a much softer uh, army. Let me just say that. Um, but some of it still works. In some ways, we have been smart enough to put that softer group into positions that they can excel in. And so let
Mhm.
me just give you a real example instead of just some high level philosophical thing. Um, we have these things called Bradley fighting vehicles, and they are like tanks that infantrymen ride in the back of. So a tank is only just, a crew and they go around shooting big guns, but no one gets out and like cleans up the mess that's on the ground. Whereas an infantry company that's mechanized has Bradleys, and so they have a smaller gun, but they can carry some dudes, and so the door can open and they can run out there and go chase bad guys down. Um, that machine's been around for a very, very long time, and we upgraded it with some really cool like uh systems, I'll just say it that way, that are very gaming like. And so I've seen, I'll just say it, that I don't have anymore, but I have seen guys that I had control over that are really soft and weak excel in that, right? They're like a video game, they're and they're just faster than anything, and they can do it, man. Like they can flat out do it. So if you could put them in a position like that, whereas you put a guy like me in there, and it's like I'm getting vertigo, man. Like I can't keep up with like what's going on with the system because I could feel the vehicle moving one way. I'm looking in a different way. And then not only am I looking in a different way, but my system is showing a completely different direction. So there's three directions at once. I'm ready to tap out. These gamers, they're cool with it, man. They're like, this is great. This is as close to Call of Duty as I can get. And so we're good at that. So I don't want to make this doom and gloom. I don't want to like say our military sucks and we're weak and we're done. Um, but I do want to say, like, they trip and fall and it's like, oh, are you okay?
Mhm.
And I'm making a joke of like how I was with my toddler,
Right.
she'll start crying. Well, they kind of start crying in that position. If you yell, they don't respond very well to the yelling. They don't respond very well to a lot of things, and they need to know the why behind everything. And that wasn't the case when I came through.
Mm.
It was, you don't ask the why, you just do, and then you'll get the why later. And so it's different in that regard. So from a overarching, what do I want our life to be like? Yeah, I would love for it all to be um where we don't have to yell, where we don't have to have a tough military, we don't have to have tough people, where we don't have, but the reality is we may be enlightened in the West,
Mhm.
but elsewhere in this world, they're not. And you need some tough kids, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and I appreciate the nuance in which you're talking about it too, and you said it right. This isn't a talking head because there's lots of conversations like this that go on around the
Yeah.
world, the country, etc. And
Yeah.
I get it. There's sensitivity around it. Some people feel like the lack of vulnerability, the lack of being able to be soft or be whatever caused a lot of problems, and I'm sure it did. I'm sure there's unintended consequences in every direction. I feel there's
Oh,
no
sure.
ideal path, right? There's no perfect path.
No, no,
And it's not
unfortunately.
to say that we necessarily, as I think you articulated from the beginning of this, we don't want people to suffer if they don't have
No.
to. But it seems like there is a reality that some degree of suffering is necessary, as we all kind of know, for us to be at our optimal point. And that's such a tricky balance. You could talk about the military, maybe that's the best example of it. But in life in general, with our kids, with us, with the country, to try and strike that balance of like the right amount of suffering to get to the right point, but not too much suffering and try and protect against people. It's really, really hard. And I think there's a natural element of human nature, which is we are as a society constantly trying to learn and grow and improve and make things
Yeah.
easier and better.
Yeah.
So naturally we're getting softer through that too, because life is just easier than it was 50 or 100 or 150 years ago.